anyways, carry on.
So I've always had this place. It's in my dreams, but I can't picture what it actually looks like. And to me, it feels like home, even though I've never actually been there.
Describe
So
it.
anytime it feels like it's more of a feeling than an actual place. It's more of like a positive feeling, like a feeling of, you know, like when you, so hard to describe. So like when you see a movie and somebody is just perfectly happy in their home, like that's their place. It has that type of feeling, even though I've never actually been to it. So when I go to a dark place in my mind, if I'm having a dark time, even when I'm in my house, which I love my house, I consider it to be my home, I always have this feeling of I want to go home, which is always a strange thing to me, even though I'm there. It's you know, I've lived in places all over the place, and I've never actually felt like I've been to this place that I think is my home or whatever.
Right. Is that bliss? It's that bliss.
Yes.
It's that bliss. Like when you know you come home, you kind of let your guard of the world down, and you kind of get into your comfort zone and your own little blissful cocoon, and that's the feeling. But do you have any like images that you recall in this place?
Yeah, it's colorful. Like it almost like a colorful sky, like a brightness to it, like the most vibrant sunset you could ever imagine. And I know it's outside. There's not like an enclosed building or space to it, but it's you know, I know there's vegetation to it, but it's mostly that sky, if you can even call it a sky. It's just such a vibrant thing. Every once in a while, I look at a sunset that's really great. I live up in Idaho, so we get some really great, beautiful sunsets. I'll see it, and it's an eerie feeling almost. Like the hair on my arm will stand up, and it's like, oh, it's like a recall. And a lot of times I don't even remember that I have these dreams until something like that recalls it. It's like, and it's the same way with this accident that I'll tell you about that I had.
Yes.
I dream about it. I know I dream about it, but I don't remember the dreams. I wake up in a sweat. Sometimes I don't know where I'm at. And the dream is there. I know the dream is there, but I have no access to it.
Have you done hypnosis?
I tried one time and nothing happened. I was just sitting in the office, and the woman who was trying to hypnotize me just, you know,
she was not successful? Okay.
No, she wasn't successful, and she kind of talked her way around it not working and wanted me to do another appointment, and I didn't really think it was a
right
thing. It's something I'm absolutely open to.
Right. If you're ever in the Seattle area down the road, just hit me up.
Yeah.
We can try to do a QHHT hypnosis session. Go through your experience. I've had alien abduction hypnosis. So go through your experience, then talk to the oversoul, the stream of consciousness in everybody, about your soul transcript, and see what's in line for you in the fifth dimension.
Okay.
So tell me about your arm.
Okay, so I think it's important if I tell you just a couple quick things. Okay. So I started out as a kid, I raced motocross. I started riding a dirt bike when I was 4 years old. I was a very good racer. I raced professionally as an adult, and I got hurt a lot. I destroyed my body, and I rode hurt all the time. Injuries were just kind of par for the course for me. So when I started getting hurt, and when I was racing professionally, I started selling drugs to pay for more bikes and support my habits and everything like that. So when I got out of racing, I was just there was nothing in my life. I had this competitive aspect in my life for so long that was gone, that I just dove right into drug dealing. And I got really in deep into that. I was homeless for a long time, skipped all over the place. I lived in Southern California, Hawaii. And I got sober. I moved to San Francisco. I bartended at a very large bar for a long time. I made very good money. And I got engaged. I went to a lineman school. So I was working on electrical power lines. And this whole time that I was working at this bar, I was like making up for missed time, because at this point, I'm almost 30, and I wasted half my 20s being a drug addict. So I'm saving as much money as I can, working as hard as I can. I go to this school. I'm 29 years old. Most of the guys there are early 20s, just out of the military. So they have a way better job aspect than I do. It's easier for them to get a job, essentially. So I took the first job that was available, and it was a very low paying job in North Dakota. They were based in Idaho. So they would fly us to North Dakota from Idaho. We would work 21 days on. We worked 12-hour minimum. And then we would do 7 days off, or 6 days off.
Was it in the rigs?
Yeah, we were bringing power. Yeah, we were bringing power to them.
Oh, one of my childhood friends, her husband is a GM, one of the oil rigs.
Yeah, so. It's all surrounds that. I mean, right. So we're building power to go out there. So after January 21st, 2015, I've been working for I think 30 days straight, 28 days straight. I was having issues with my now ex-wife. She was an alcoholic, and she was being an alcoholic in San Francisco while I'm working lots of hours. And so the pole I'm working on is a live line, and I'm going up to secure a neutral line, which is a non-live line. I shouldn't have been doing this actual work. Any other, like a bigger power company that was unionized or something like that, would have never let me do this. But we're up in North Dakota. We're in, the Wild West, essentially. So they're having me do stuff. So I climb up this pole. It's nothing I've never done before. I've done this before. So I remember I climb up the pole. I secure my line around this bolt, because there's a sheet of ice on the back of the pole. It's like -40 this day, or 20 maybe, I don't know. And I look over at the guy next to me, because everything's competitive up there. And I'm, like I was telling him, a very competitive guy. So I look over because I want to beat him. I want to do the same job as him and get down to the ground before him, because the boss is out there that day, which is a rarity. So after that, my memory blanks out. I was going up there, so I was securing this neutral. So I was putting wire across it and then tying it to the insulator. I put the wire across it, and then while I was tying it, they think that I touched the tie to the line while I was holding the neutral line. So then the energy goes through me, grounds here, a safety device kicks in. This is 14,400 volts. So a safety device kicks in on the line, the power shuts off, it lets me go, and my body holds a charge like a battery, like any body does. So then it exits out my body to the pole. I don't remember any of this. So I tie my belt in, I wake up looking at the sky. And my first thought was that I fell. It's like, oh my God, I fell. How did that happen? So I go to push down to get up, but nothing worked. I wasn't paralyzed. I could feel my body, but everything was just fried because of all the electricity that went through. So I start yelling. They come over, they get me down, and they drive me in a truck until we get cell service. My boss is calling to meet an ambulance. But so this is the weird part. I know when a lot of people have NDEs, and the word NDE still is weird to me. When you say it, I still think oh, that's something that I've watched on the History Channel. Do you know what I mean? It still doesn't relate that happened to me. So the whole time that we're driving, and from the second I get hurt, to me, in my mind, this is a motocross injury. This is not life-threatening. This is not, even though my hands are smoking, I can't feel anything. I'm literally on fire, dying. And that's not in my mind at all. And Sam was asking me, like, you know, was there somebody you were thinking about or anything like that? And no, there wasn't. Like, I wasn't thinking about my family or anything like that. I was literally begging my boss not to fire me because I made a mistake. And I don't know, like, I know some people grab onto their family and that's what keeps them from going or coming back or anything like that. I don't know. And I don't know what happened while I was out. The weirdest part to me is I've been knocked out, I've been punched out, I've been knocked out on a motorcycle, and I know what that is like. This was so much different because even though it was only a couple of minutes in real time, it could have been an eternity. Like, I can't even describe, like, time didn't exist. Like, there was nothing there. It was like somebody hit a light switch on my back, like I was a robot, and then time was just suspended. And there's just utter darkness. Like, not even black, but just, not like blackout drunk, but just gone. Whatever happened there, I can't explain. And it's disturbing, like, to the point where and also it's curious, like, I want to know what happened. Like, you know, did I get to go stretch, you know, in another dimension, wherever we go? Did I just get to go stretch my astral legs for a while? Did the electricity just fry my brain for a second and turn me off like a light bulb and then back on? I want those answers, but I'm also terrified of what they're going to be.
You said that you're possibly terrified of the answers. What are you
Yeah,
afraid of? What answers would you be afraid of?
that there's nothing, that maybe that just nothing happened. Like, I would like to believe that I could have learned something or been shown something beyond what we can normally see. And I'd be terrified to get deep enough to see that that didn't happen, you know?
Well, let me ask you
It's
something.
changed me so deeply that something had to have happened.
Right. Let me ask you something. You know that feeling that you described, that bliss that you feel when you're in that dream state?
Yes.
Is it the same energy? Is it the same feeling?
No. It's a feeling of nothingness, like something was taken from me.
That there was no emotion. There was no peace or calm or serenity.
No, just an absence of everything. It's like it's like I know something was there and it was just removed, and maybe it's deep down. I just I know there's something there.
Okay, so typically that's what they call the void.
Yes, that's exact. Yes,
that's what they call the void. So typically people who have these experiences, when they come out and they have no memory, or they have most of the memory gone, it's because it's not for them to have those memory in this lifetime, or have full understanding of those memories. They'll get it back when they pass on. They'll get the fullness of everything will be turned back up. But so that you can focus on your life here, and you can focus on living the best version of you here, sometimes they take away that memory of that experience in the spirit world, or past the void. If you're so rest in the spirit world, because that's where it rests, then that's one thing. But some souls actually go beyond the spirit world because they don't want to play the game of life again. They go beyond the spirit world, and they let go of the ego, and they go to the void, and they go to what Buddhists call Nirvana. And Nirvana is like a 0 point. It is where you get reabsorbed with the universal one mind. And it's like, in order for, and this is, I'm just talking Buddhism here.
Yeah. I love it. I'm interested.
Okay. In order for consciousness, or the universe one mind, to create anything, it has to create polarity. In order to create down, it has to create up. Okay, in order to create light, it has to create dark. It has to
Yin and
create the
yang.
illusion, the yin and the yang. It has to create those dualities. When you go to the void, there's nothing being created because it's in a resting state. Okay? You
Okay.
come out of it, then the yin yang starts happening, and that's how creation starts happening.
Okay.
In the creative world that souls exist in when they go through the spirit world, and they talk to their life planner, and they make their plans on reincarnating again into whatever game they want to play, whether it's on Earth or another universe or another dimension or whatever. That's for them to figure out what they want to experience. But if you are done with all the games, some souls just want to go back to the void, where there's like, it's not bad, it's just eternal peace, it's an eternal slumber.
Okay.
There's really, it's just kind of like the universe doesn't even have a sound, it's soundless.
That's exactly what I felt like it was. So
Yeah, so
I still have stuff to do.
Yeah, you still have stuff to do. And when you go there, the universe is soundless. The universe is, when it's in its state, it's soundless, it's shapeless, it's nothing. That's what the Buddhists call, it's the nothingness of the universal one mind. It's the emptiness. It's the spiritual emptiness. And the spiritual emptiness is exactly that. It's the void of nothing. It's the sound of silence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the nothing.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of like, for a lot of Western minds, they're like, that sounds horrible. That sounds like hell. That sounds horrible.
Yeah. It's nothing.
It's
Like
nothing.
there was nothing. Like it's not good
nothing.
or bad.
It's not good. It's not bad. It's just, it's like the analogy of a computer programmer creating a game board. It starts with a blue screen. It has nothing on it. That's the spiritual emptiness of going back to source. You don't have any emotion. You're not happy. You're not sad. It's just a blue screen. It's just silence. It's just eternal slumber. It's just like nothing. It's just
Baseline.
It's just baseline. Not every soul wants that. Sometimes some souls, but you just get this eternal. In Buddhism, they call it the spiritual emptiness. You get this eternal bliss. Like all of the avatars who return to source just go through an eternal, they call it the eternal slumber. And actually the $1 trillion Merkaba challenge that I'm doing in about an hour and a half goes over the eternal slumber of Lord Vishnu. Because he went to the void. So if you have that feeling and you resonate more heavily with that feeling of the spiritual emptiness rather than the energy of heaven in the spirit world, more than likely, if I put you in hypnosis, you're probably a source code soul.
What's that mean?
That means you're from the spiritual emptiness.
Oh, you cut out right in the important part there.
That's okay. That means you possibly could be from the spiritual emptiness. You came straight from source. You didn't come from the spirit world.
Okay, I got you.
You're a soul that shot out from the spiritual emptiness of the oversoul, and came into the physical experience. Okay.
That's deep. Okay.
Does that make sense? It's really hard for Western. It's really hard for Western.
I need to read your books. So I'll just start from the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be 41 pretty soon, and I'll have plenty by the time I die. There's probably going to be a library and stuff, so there's plenty. But that part is going to be in book 3. That's why the NDEs are really good, because NDEs typically will get 2 experiences. They will either get the spirit world, experience where they
Mm-hmm.
go back to spirit world and they would have all these different visions and yada, 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 yada on the spirit world. That's where they
Okay.
reside. Or they will go even, or their soul will go even further past the spirit world to a spiritual emptiness of nirvana, which is what Buddhists talk about. Because not all souls want to eternally reincarnate into different games of the cosmos over and over again.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just like, I'm kind of done with the spirit world. I just want to go get reabsorbed with the consciousness of the Lord and just go into the spiritual emptiness.
Just rest.
Just rest. It's just a resting
Yeah.
place. I just want to go to the blue screen and
Yeah.
just be part of the ethers. I want to just go into, it's like, I mean, yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
that's what they call nirvana.
Having you break down those different things, it makes more sense to me now. Like separating the two makes a whole lot more sense to me.
So a lot of NDEs will either go to the spirit world where they originally shot out from, or they'll go beyond the spirit world and completely let go of their ego and their individual identity, and they'll go into what Buddhists call nirvana, which means that they get reabsorbed with the spiritual emptiness of the Lord. That's the two places.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you resonate more with nirvana than you resonate with the spirit world.
Okay.
So
what kind of advice do you have for me then?
And that's probably why they didn't let you in on information, because if you get, oftentimes the problem with NDEs is that they get a sliver of the feeling of those doorways, and they can't function in this reality anymore. You know, it's almost like you had the best orgasm in the world, and now nobody will meet your needs.
Yeah, that makes
really
a lot of sense. That makes
really
a lot.
hard.
Yeah, why go back when
when
you're already there?
That's why most NDEs that I've found in my research, most NDEs have very, very slight pieces of information. Even that little slight splinter of information, just the feeling that they get from the other side puts them into this constant journey to just do the best they can, help people, try to be positive, whatever, because they're just basically buying time to get back there.
Gotcha.
So it was a gift that you didn't have a lot of memory so that you can function. Because otherwise
that makes sense, because I still feel, wow, that actually made me feel really good. Because a lot of it is a burden, I would imagine. Like I really believe that, ignorance is bliss sometimes, and
it really is. Ignorance about that.
I heard a really brilliant guy, I don't remember who it was, sometimes say that if you have a certain level of IQ and it's not even that high, life is essentially unbearable.
Yeah, it is really, really unbearable. And so it is actually, it sounds kind of cruel, but to take that away from you was the gift.
Wow.
Otherwise you would kill yourself so you can go back there. And you still have a lot of stuff. You still have a lot of stuff to give. Yeah.
I feel like I do. I feel like I have a lot inside of me just ready to get out, you know?
Yeah, and you're so young, and your arm thing, and maybe the whole, I mean, in Buddhism, we say like nothing, everything has its purpose. I just had a Mandela effect, a personal one with my husband, where yesterday we went to a lunch date. We went to this restaurant that we go to just to pick up food, and I went in to pay to pick up our food, and they had all squared away where there was no dine-in. And my husband and I are like, well, we just sat right there a month ago. Are you sure? And the lady's like, yeah, we have been pick up and take out this whole time we've never been open for dine-in. So I'm like, so my husband and I are looking at each other like parallel people.
Wow.
This is a parallel. This is the same gal that owns the business that
In a different.
in a different reality. It's the same exact gal.
That's insane.
And we're not going to tell her that our firsthand experience of her
Just
serving
observe her.
us. Yeah. So
See if
she's
she switches back.
maybe. So she's a
I've got
parallel.
I've got another weird question
What's
for
that?
you.
What's
Well,
that?
have you ever heard of phantom limb?
Yes. That
So
happens a
what do
lot
you
with
think
NDEs.
about that?
There's a
It's
lot.
like the ghost in the machine.
It.
So my hand is still there, even though it's gone. My mind won't accept it, or nobody really knows. I've read so much about it, and nobody really understands it. It's all just, thought experiment, essentially.
Yeah. I've heard about that, and they actually did some heart research where somebody had the heart transplant, and it's actually my Buddhist mandalas book, one book. They did a heart transplant for different people, and it kind of goes in the line of the phantom organ.
Yeah.
And you think that
I've
hearts
heard of that. I've heard of phantom lung.
Yeah, you think that hearts don't have any memory, but the new people that gets the hearts of the previous donor all of a sudden knows and picks up the attributes of the previous host.
And
That
hearts have neurons in them.
Yeah, because they're like, they don't have any memory. They don't have any knowledge of the donor's heart that they got it from, but all of a sudden they're having their food cravings.
Yep.
They're having
They can tell you what culture they're from.
Exactly, all of that.
Here's a weird one. I still have both my hands in my dreams.
Yeah.
I've never had a dream with no hand before that I can remember. Never once.
Yep, this is just your third dimensional. So what is interesting with your specific case, which is perfect for book 3. So
excellent. I'm glad that I appreciate you took the time to interview me, and I'm glad it's good for you. I'm happy for it.
Yeah, and I'm actually happy because today has been just amazing today because it's baked 2 blackberry pies. We have a blackberry bush.
I love blackberry pie.
I baked 2 of them, and then I burnt them because I was so focused.
No.
I was so focused on tinkering with my job because I do IT in the daytime. So then I smelled it and I was like, oh fuck. And so I'm like, today, just what is the deal with today?
One good thing at least.
I was like, can you use the one good thing? And so thank you. You actually
thank you.
Because
I'm trying to write a book about my life right now, and I can't get anybody to read it. I've written I guess probably 10 or 15 pages about myself, and then 2 short stories that I think are good, and I can't even get anybody to read it. So I'm just writing it anyways.
You just kind of write it to write it. I wrote stuff, and nope. I'm telling you, everybody is connected, and I'm feeling everybody's neck pains. And oh my God, people, everybody needs to chill out at this. We need to chill out because they are really, they're causing everybody else neck pain, the pain in my neck. But anyways, all these 3D people are painting my neck, but
my ankle,
painting your ankle, painting my neck. But anyways, I just write books because I enjoy it, just to get it out of my head and free up space.
That's been great for me.
It's really meditative, but when you do create it, when I create it, I try to do the best that I can and try to be as, well written as I possibly can, because it's like your art.
Yeah. Absolutely. I take it very seriously.
Yeah.
I publish it on Substack, so my friends and family read it. So it feels good when you get it done and you think it's good and everything.
Yeah. And you might
feels good.
Right. And you might just do a bunch of
even if no one's reading it.
Exactly. You might just do a bunch of short stories. It doesn't have to follow a novel or anything. You could just do a bunch of short stories about this experience, about that experience, and then just put it together and just be short stories of your life.
I'm calling it Diary of a One-Armed Madman.
There you go. Diary of a One-Armed Madman. And the thing that's interesting about your experience is that you actually describe what the Buddhists call Nirvana, spiritual emptiness.
So it's like somewhere that I want to get to, but I'm not ready for yet. Is that kind of how, or am I twisted in that?
No, what you're describing everything you're describing is not the spirit world.
Okay.
The nothingness, the
Yes.
emptiness, the
Yeah.
darkness. It's not bad, but it's not necessarily good. It's just blank. It's just an eternal slumber.
Yeah.
Okay. So all those things that you describe is what the Buddhists call nirvana.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't tell you what it was until I got your description. You didn't
Yeah.
describe the spirit world.
You're good. You're
Yeah.
good. You're good at letting me
Thank you.
go.
Yeah.
I thank you for letting me get it out. I
Yeah.
feel better after talking to you
Yeah.
about it,
So you didn't.
And now I know, like, I have things to read about.
Right. So, sometimes people think, I didn't get the spirit world. Does that mean I'm fucked? I didn't get the spirit world. I'm going to end to eat. No, that's not everybody goes to the spirit world. They'll go to the place that they were last at. Wherever home is. So if home last was the spirit world, that's where they will go. For you, you didn't describe anything in the spirit world. You describe home being source code.
Yeah.
You describe home being the Buddhist nirvana.
Oh my goodness.
So
I feel way better
after
talking. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So it's actually wonderful in a weird kind of way that you don't have memory, because you wouldn't want to live a day if you did.
Wow. That is so deep.
Yeah. So for you, I would, because we don't really have a lot of literature, except for all of it's in Buddhism, on Nirvana. We don't have a lot of literature in science on.
Because how can you write about it?
Yeah, because always, they have some literature in the Vedas of Hinduism. They have some literature in Buddhism. And the reason why is most of the souls that ever experience nirvana never want to leave.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And so they never want to come back. So you don't ever hear about them.
You can't write about it if you never come back.
If you never come back. And the souls that experience nirvana, very, very few, probably like less than 1% of 1% of the world. The souls that experience nirvana, I have come across a couple, it's very few, and they basically say they never wanted to leave. They came here for the ascension of Earth. Wow. They came here to help Earth. As she moves in, because Earth is moving into the 5th dimension, which is a Buddhist prophecy, which I've spoken about in my interviews.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about it.
Yeah, so anyway,
so interesting. And I've heard other people who aren't even connected with Buddhism saying the exact same thing in different forms. People who don't even know what you're talking about say the same thing. Raising of consciousness. It's all over the place.
It's all
everybody knows it's happening.
Exactly. So, and people who don't want to, that's fine. I don't care. There's different games for everybody. But anyways, Earth is moving on, but humanity is stuck for the most part into the 3D games, into the wheel of Dharma. And so, and I found this in my hypnosis sessions as well. And it's in the Buddhist prophecies as well, and as well as other traditions. But a lot of ancient souls, like star seeds with different alien or dimensional backgrounds incarnated here at this time, to not necessarily help Earth, but to help the people of Earth ascend with her. Because she's like, I'm leaving, guys. I can't wait around for you guys any longer, but I've sent out the call for help, and there are people coming in for help. And it's a very small number, but they're a source. What we call Tulku children in Buddhism, we call them Tulku. They're ancient souls directly from source.
I met a few in San Francisco when I was in AA. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's just, you meet some people and they're just so powerful. You just don't even have to hear them speak. You just know right away that this person is not like us, you know? I've seen musicians the same way, where it's just so powerful that this person is not here. Right.
Their source code souls that they shot off. And I haven't really, like usually when I listen to, because I've listened to 20 years of this stuff, so from science, from university, from different spiritual teachers, I've seen a lot of fake gurus and priests and pastors, and I don't waste my time with that stuff. But that's why I say my $1 trillion Merkaba challenge will call out the bull. But
I'm gonna watch that tonight.
it's really fun. Anyways,
and I'm glad you're in a good mood now, so you can go be in a good mood for it.
Yay! We're gonna talk about the game show.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to leave off something positive before I take a hiatus for book interviews for like 4 months. So.
Well, good. I'm glad you're gonna have some vacation time.
Yeah.
Good.
Well.
Do something fun.
The thing of your NDE. Dr. David R. Hawkins is actually, you can write it down. Dr. David R. Hawkins of Power versus Force. Okay.
I didn't bring my pencil like a dummy. David.
Yeah, David R. Hawkins. He's a doctor. He's the author of Power versus Force. Power versus Force. And the Map of Consciousness. I can't remember. They have audio books on.
I'm not a good audiobook person. I like to read the physical.
You have to read? Okay.
Yeah, so, I like to put music on and sit down and read.
So I read all of his stuff, and I listened to all of his videos, and I watch all of his presentations anywhere I can find. It's what I typically do. I source it all. And he's one of the very few authors that I have come across in 20 years that actually talk about the void, his actual experience coming out from the void, from his NDE. He had died and drowned, I think at 4 or 3. And he had the same exact experience that you had. Where he didn't have a spirit world, but he had like the eternal slumber peace. And he actually described exactly like you did. And he didn't want to come back, and he wanted to die. But the only reason why he came back into his body was because of his father. He didn't want to leave his father sonless. So he has known about Nirvana his whole life, and he actually talks about going through the final doorway, the experience of letting your ego die, which is the only person I've ever come across in 20 years, because I let my ego die a long time ago, and it was a little pain. But he's the only one that I've come across that actually talks about letting your ego die, and going through the final doorway, and the energy of Nirvana. Very few have I ever heard anybody speak about that, and there's some videos on it, but you can look for it and stuff, but there's some really good stuff here, so that's good.
The other person, as I learn about it, I can learn to speak about it better, because I'm a decent speaker, and I now want to know why I came back. There's a like you said, there's something, and he came back, and I don't have an answer for that. So I need to figure out what that is.
Well, what he's passed on now, and what he learned about, and he again does not have a lot of memory, just like it was wiped, but he remembers the feeling, and has the same exact description as you have. And he talks about coming straight from source, and he doesn't know why he came to this physical reality. It's like, I don't know why I was born into life. I was happy where I was. I was completely happy in the emptiness of the Lord. I didn't want to be born, but I don't know why I was born. But upon his death, he realized that the reason why he was born and he became a medical doctor was he was supposed to create the map of consciousness, which is what his life work is. And it is how you calibrate the energy field of people's Merkaba. Which goes into the game. So anyways, but that's his thing. And
I'm sorry, I was gonna say one more thing came to me, and it just like lit me up. So I have to do like psyche vowels all the time for that, and like I have bad days. Like it's it's hard. No joke. Everything about it's difficult. I'm in pain all the time, and I say this to my doctors all the time, and it's true. Not all the time, but my psych doctor, who I trust, is not going to toss me in a room. he asks me, you suicidal or anything like that? And I always say no. But if I woke up tomorrow, if I didn't wake up tomorrow, I wouldn't care. And that's kind of, I see the look on your face. Like that's kind of always been it. Like I've never thought about eating a bullet or anything like that, but it's like, if I wake up tomorrow, if I don't wake up tomorrow, like I'm okay with that.
Yeah, my second, when I was giving birth to my second, my first was easy. We got an epi. It was like, I could hear the fat guy from Hawaii singing "Is," it was wonderful.
Are you from Hawaii?
I'm from Laos, but I have family in Hawaii.
Okay.
So anyways, my second, that was an all natural birth. It came in like 2 hours, 0 to 10, 2 hours, and it was most painful. I had the complete opposite experience. And I had an out-of-body experience where I can hear this woman screaming and bloody murder. I'm like, wow, that woman is really in pain. I was like, wait, that's me. and I like closed my eyes and I literally, had an out-of-body experience. Do you want to go? And I was like, oh. And I could hear my husband's voice saying, don't go. I don't know what to do with these two kids. I don't want to raise them alone and stuff. And so because of his plea, I went back in my body.
Wow.
But I was totally fine. Wild. I was totally fine to go. I was like, it's okay. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. There's plenty of help here to help you out. But, I didn't fully go to go to source and come back, because if I had, I probably would be depressed.
Yeah.
I would probably be actually a depressed person.
And I'm not like a depressed person, but like I think like I have weird views on depression. Like I think there's there's actual depression, like people who are depressed, and then there's being sad because you got your arm blown off. Right. And I had a great doctor tell me one time, like they think I have a brain injury, obviously, because I got zapped, but they didn't do pictures. And I guess pictures don't really do much for you anyways. And the doctor told me, because my brain got rewired. I changed the way I looked at the world. I couldn't cope with it for about a year. It took me like a year to really figure out how to see things again. And he told me, back in the Wild West, if you had bipolar disorder, you dealt with it. And he was just kind of like, learn to deal with it. And that was just a big like, oh, okay, like I can do this. Other people have done this for a long time. So that's kind of helped. But, I definitely get depressed. It's not fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, don't envy the NDEs.
No, I don't.
But do you have sixth senses from it? Do you have sixth senses?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Afterwards,
I'm on edge. Oh, I always.
What are your sixth senses?
I mean,
because it does level up your energy field.
My hand lights up, like the pain in my hand lights up when I know something is, when things are tense, when I know something's gonna pop off. Like I ran into somebody. It's weird. It's like a spider sense in that phantom limb. If I see somebody get hurt, I go, ooh, and I feel it. But it's more of like, I can tell when things are going to go bad. Like I feel situations more now. I've always been good at reading people. I was a bartender for 10 years, so I've always been really good at reading people. But now I can just read people from afar. I can look at somebody in the store and maybe I'm wrong, you don't know, but I look at people and I think I can figure out what's going on with you pretty easily. And it's just more hyper aware of the world. Like I see things for what they are. I've always, in dealing drugs, I realized that money wasn't real at a young age. I had corrupt cops where I grew up, so I learned about corruption at a young age. So I've always seen things for what they are. But now, if I see, something on TV, somebody say something on TV, I just go, oh, that's complete bullshit. Like I just, it's like I am just hyper aware of emotions from other people. I can tell when you're down or up, and that's just an extension of what I've already been able to do as a bartender. But I feel like I never had like an out of body experience, but I feel like I've taken a step back from the world, and it's easier to see the way things work and
Yeah, you don't
how
get
things
to.
click.
Yeah, you don't get to when you're in this. That's very normal of NDEs. Many of them come back with a higher purpose and a sense of kind of a higher viewpoint of reality.
Yeah.
And they don't, I mean, yeah, they go do their jobs and everything else, and they live their lives and do the best that they can, but they don't necessarily engage so much with reality.
I look at a lot of things as mundane.
Yes,
I'll look at,
yes.
it's like this,
Subpar.
I look
It's
at
subpar.
subpar. It's like, you want me to do this job. This is a meaningless thing. Like,
Yeah.
we've got, big things. Yeah. I look at lots of things as being mundane. I look at people's problems as being mundane.
Oh, yeah.
I don't try and control people or tell
Yeah.
people what to do anymore, because it's just,
It's part of their journey. It's part of their journey.
changed me in such an unbelievable way. It's impossible to describe. I mean, my brain is literally different now. I never wrote anything before I got hurt. The only time I ever read anything was when I was in jail. And I started looking at, I was a big TV person. I'm a huge sci-fi fan. I love reading sci-fi, and I watch everything sci-fi. And right away I started looking at stuff going, oh, this is bad writing. This is really bad. Like, I was watching like The Flash on TV, and I was just like, wow, this is really bad.
Yeah.
And then one day I was like, you know what? You can do better than that.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Like, why don't you do it? Like, stop watching this garbage and go write something yourself.
Go write something. And Netflix and a lot of those, they're always looking for submissions from freelancers.
Yeah.
So,
I would just put it all on Substack, and if people like it, they do. If they don't, they don't. It's just it's fun.
You'll find your way.
I look at things in such a different way now. I just look at things as
and that's why I don't like,
pieces of a puzzle, just an enormous puzzle pieces. Everything is just a big little,
Yep.
So I guess like astronauts call it when they have that overview effect when they go up into space.
Exactly. Like, if you saw from where I saw, you wouldn't be so 3D.
Yes.
But,
it's like the world of an ant is one-dimensional.
Exactly.
Until they go underground.
Exactly. So, and that's very common with NDEs, because many of them level up their energy field because they have a taste of the other side, or Nirvana in your case. So they level up the energy field. And so many of them come back with a little bit of a higher purpose, a little bit of, well, I'm just going to ride through this life the best that I can until I go back home. And, they're not scared of death because they know that there's definitely something more.
Yeah, I'm not scared anymore.
Yeah. And there's something more. And
I'd never plug into a computer and do the upload thing like they're talking about. To me, that that was always an interesting thing to me. I'm a sci-fi guy. It's like, go live in the VR world after you die. And then,
you're already in the VR world.
Yeah, it's like, what are you even talking about? You're talking about a dumb little game. Like,
life itself, the matrix that we exist in itself is the VR world. Life is the virtual video game. It's the video game for the consciousness, and it's already real enough. But anyways, to each their own. But and it's the challenge with these experiences is that you try not to sound callous to people's suffering.
That's very hard, because I care less about people in a way. Like, it's so hard for me to describe. Like, I ran into trouble like on Sam's show because I was like, one of the points I like to make with people is, people care more about their dogs than their family members, and they've done studies on this. So it's like, we don't really give a shit about people. And he's like, well, and I was like, oh crap, I just said we don't give a shit about people on a big show.
It's okay.
But you kind of get what I'm saying, I guess.
Yeah. It's sometimes you have to like sometimes, I mean, you care about people and stuff, but
I do, but I don't at the same time.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I can't describe it.
Well, see, you care about the soul of people, but you don't care about their 3D dramas.
No,
Like,
they're
I'm so,
individual lives
yeah,
or what they've
because
got going on as
exactly,
such.
because when they die, okay, so this is how all these different 3D dramas, conspiracies, belief, whatever you want to label it,
Yeah.
all these 3D issues, this is how minuscule they are in everybody's life. As soon as somebody in their family that they really love and care about has an illness and is dying, none of that shit matters to them anymore. It's out the
No.
window. That's
No.
how minuscule and not important it is. Because if
Yes.
it was important, it would still be relevant in that situation. Oftentimes it's not, which shows
Yeah.
these aren't even real issues. They're not real
Yeah.
issues.
I was stressed out about, I'm sure I probably did way better on Sam show than I thought I did, but I
I'm
was
sure you
stressed out about
did.
it.
I'm sure you
I was all
did.
stressed out about it. It's my first time and everything like that. And then I crunched my ankle in the back of the yard and I'm sitting in the ER and it's like, you know what? Whatever. If I, whatever.
Yeah. So the really cool thing about your NDE experience again is you had you didn't go to the spirit world, you went to Nirvana.
That's so
You went to the spirit, what
amazing.
Buddhists call the spiritual emptiness of Nirvana. So you can search and Google and look up all the different ways of people describing Nirvana. There isn't very many because most of them
Yeah.
don't want to leave Nirvana. Because once you go through the final doorway and you go to Nirvana, the spirit world itself does not meet your needs.
So the spirit world and Nirvana are not connected.
They are connected, but
They
it's just,
are?
yeah, it's just, there's the spirit. Okay, so like for the universe to in Nirvana, for the universe, the consciousness of the universe, in order for it to create itself and learn itself, it created the game of polarity, the
Yeah.
yin and the
Okay.
yang.
Okay.
In order for it, so it's split off into all these different souls. And there's a piece of that energy in everybody, so everybody has a soul. But in order for those souls to experience creation, learn, and grow, it had to create out of polarity a physical world in order for these souls to be born into. I actually go over this a little bit in one of my earlier interviews on my YouTube channel by Hara Katish or something. She's a German person. But anyways, it created a physical world for souls to incarnate into these bodies and have their physical experience so they can learn and grow and experience creation. In order for physicality to be created, it had to create the opposite, which is the spirit world.
Okay.
Okay, there's the
Now I'm
physical
on with
world.
you. Now I'm on with you again. Okay,
There's
now
the
I'm on with you again.
yeah, there's the physical world, and then there's the spirit world, because once their physical bodies die, they have to go somewhere to go to the spirit world. And the spirit world is like what people call heaven or whatever. There's lots of mansions in the spirit world, whatever. And oftentimes they love the game of creation so much in all these different realities and planets and universes, whatever, that there's a whole interesting dilemma of the Buddhists call like the wheel of Dharma, the reincarnation process, the pre-life planning. Well, what kind of game do you want to play? So, you want to be in Earthlings again, or you want to be in Earth in the Ascension. That's great. Oh, you want to be in Andromedan. Okay, all right. You want to be, whatever. Well, there's so many games in the universe for you to create, and then you get born, go back into the physical game. But see this polarity that's going on?
Yeah.
That polarity, that opposite,
Yeah.
in order for one to exist, the other has to exist.
Balance.
But the 0 point where it all came out of is Nirvana. And if you get to Nirvana, which many souls do not want to let go of the game because they're addicts,
like me.
all souls for the most part are addicts to the best drug in creation, which is creation itself. We're all addicts. Souls can't get off of the reincarnation cycle of the wheel of
Because
Dharma.
life is so good.
It's so good because you could be a rich man, you can be the hottest female that all the guys want, you can be a starship captain, you know, helping people in different planets, you can create a planet, you know, whatever. There's so many games that you can, you know, incarnate into because it's infinite. So it's the hardest game for souls to let go. That's why a lot of ancient souls become addicts.
That makes so much sense to me too, because I'm an addict in every aspect of my life. You know, I always have been. Motocross, drugs, you know, working, money.
Yeah.
Now it's been, you know, working on my yard this past year. It's just, you know, it's always how I've been.
Yeah. So anyways, but that's just the basic and the book 3 really gets esoteric, and I bring science into it to, you know, back up, but it gets really esoteric into spirit world and into Nirvana because they are 2 different tangents, but very few
I really
souls.
like that point where science and philosophy meet. You know, in history, they all kind of converge in one area, and philosophy's just the most interesting thing to me.
There isn't a lot of canon about Nirvana, and most of the description about Nirvana and the final doorway, you know, like I said, Dr. Hawkins talks about it. Cynthia Sue Larson is another author, but she doesn't really talk about it very much, but she tried to kill herself before she was a child, and they said no. She's like, I just want to go back home, and they're like, no, you need to be alive. So her angels said, you need to be alive because you have work to do. You're a critical part of awakening a lot of people who are critical people to bring out the information and help humanity. So anyway, so she talks about it a little bit, but there isn't very many people who have experience of Nirvana because it's very rare to be a source code soul coming into this reality, like I said, because if you've overcome the addiction of creation, why the fuck would you go back into your addiction?
Yeah.
Except for a really good reason, like Earth is ascending to the 5th dimension and you're here to help humanity ascend.
Okay.
So that's the exception.
That's the emissaries. That's the emissaries you were talking about.
Yes.
That's a higher purpose.
It's a higher purpose, not just for fun.
Wow. There's probably not very many higher purposes once you get, you know, I look at very few things as being important in life, like in the world and I look at very, very, very few things. And I imagine once you, you know, are in Nirvana, very, very few things are important.
Exactly. Besides getting back to Nirvana. So some source code souls actually made the biggest sacrifice than any of the other souls incarnate. All these star seeds, wonderful souls, they didn't make that great of a sacrifice. It's the source code. They're in the spirit world.
They're doing something fun.
They're doing something fun. They're still playing in the game.
Yeah.
It's the source code souls that made the biggest sacrifice to say, I'm going to take the drug to help the people in the game. Wow. For the soul, for the oversoul to ascend and for the earth to ascend for a bigger purpose. But I need help.
Every time you say oversoul, it always creeps me out because that's what childhood's in. Have you ever read that one?
Right?
Oh, the overmind.
The
overmind.
You can say the universal one mind. The Buddhists call it the universal one mind.
Yeah. And there's so many, and like I said, I've heard that in so many different places, in science fiction, in philosophy, and they don't even interact with what you're talking about. It's really cool.
Yeah. So we're getting really esoteric because there isn't a lot. Like I said, there isn't a lot of source. You know, like the Tulku children is the only example in Buddhism that we have of source code souls that came straight from heaven or straight from the source.
Okay.
Usually, like, they usually become avatars.
Okay.
So, like Yeshua ben Yosef, Yeshua, Jesus, he's an avatar.
Yeah.
Source code soul.
You have work to do.
Buddha, Kuan Yin, Tara, all of these like master teachers are source
Gandhi.
code souls because they can teach about the eternal game that souls play in physicality, because they know the whole game, because they're gone beyond the game board to being the game makers.
This is an interest. You'll probably find this interesting. When I was in college in San Francisco, I took a women's studies English class, and I was like 25. I had no idea what I didn't even know what that was. I was just needed an English class. And my teacher was amazing. This was the best class I've ever taken. And we studied Tibet and the Dalai Lama and their relationship with China for the entire semester. And she brought in this woman who had been persecuted in Tibet, and she actually interviewed the Dalai Lama for an entire day for her book. And she talked to us for 2 days about what it was like talking to the Dalai Lama. Nobody even spoke. You just sat there and just, please keep talking. You know, everything she said was amazing. It was just,
absorbing the energy.
Yes, it was the most electrifying, one of the most, like you were saying, which some people are just larger than
their bodies. Yeah.
You know, I don't remember anything else about that school except for her. You know, and
that's what made it worth it.
Just and I still, you know, a guy like me, a racer, you know, you would never find me in a women's studies class for the most part. I took it by accident, but it's the best class I've ever taken in any school ever. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Well, that's good. That's a really good opportunity that you got the fortune to get into. But I love talking to you. It's fun.
Yeah, you too.
You know, maybe like it's too bad you already did that thing with maybe when I come back in for book 3, I'll hit up Sam. Let's talk about book 3, because we'll talk about NDEs. We'll bring Nick in because Nick has an interesting perspective.
That'd be great.
He has experience in Nirvana.
That'd be great.
So I hope that clarified you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I feel so much better.
You feel better?
Yeah, I feel great right now. How am I gonna go? I wish my ankle was good. I'd go outside and run around. You know, I was like, oh,
that's funny. Yeah. Well, consider yourself very, very unique. I usually say people aren't special, but you are unique in that you've had an experience that a very, very small percentage of souls in all of incarnation have the courage to do and experience, which is Nirvana.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's amazing.
Thank you so much.
You're
for
welcome.
Talking to me. This has been great. I had a great time talking.
Oh, good, good. All right. Well, I'm going to be on in like 40 minutes on the
Okay, I'm going to watch you.
$1 trillion Merkaba challenge. So that will be fun.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Have fun. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.